Marion County still underneath this tornado warning until 8:45. So we still have another 20 minutes on this, and we will continue to watch this as we watch the small rotation going on in this particular area. We're seeing two little batches of it. So one right towards the Bardstown area, and then further to the south towards Loretto. Some spots that we're going to continue to keep an eye on in terms of a little bit more of that rotation, a little bit more of the strong wind as well. So a lot to watch for this morning in terms of what's happening in the southern Nelson County area up into portions of Marion County and Washington County as well. So let's just break down exactly where we are. And for those of you, I'm just going to call out some city names so you know if you're involved in this. So New Haven, you're on the tail end of this. That's some good news for those of you there. So this is pushing away from you. Greenbrier, Culvertown, Manton, I need you to be in your safe spaces right now. Up to Raywick, St. Mary, I need you to be in your safe space. Same thing in Lebanon. You are underneath this tornado warning until 8:45. This does stretch towards Springfield. So for those of you in the Valley Hill area in Washington County, we are watching this for you as well as we continue to monitor that rotation within this storm right now, and the reason why we have that tornado warning. So here's what we're looking at right now, seeing a couple of rotations towards Culvertown area and then down just to the south of Denton, seeing the little wiggles there. That shows to us that there is a little bit of that rotation showing up in this particular storm as we continue to monitor this particular area. So once again, now we have an update with the radar showing a lot of it's moving a little bit further to the east. Some pretty heavy rain coming down and some very strong winds. Some of that rotation trying to show up a little bit more so towards the Bardstown area. So we're going to be watching that. And then down towards St. Mary, some pretty heavy rain. And keep in mind some small hail with this as well as we continue over the next 20 or so minutes. So we only have until 8:45. I'm going to stay with you for that entire time. I am required by the FCC to do this, by the way. So we're going to continue to be watching this closely. Up towards Eastwood, just to take a wider look just to the north. For some of you, you may be tuning in. You're like, I'm not underneath a tornado warning, but I'm seeing some crazy stuff happening outside. Just a heads up. So from Carroll County down towards the Franklin County and Shelby County lines, very heavy rain, even some of that hail potentially embedded in some of those storms. So we'll watch for that. Also, this stretches through Trimble County into the eastern portions of the metro. This is where we're also seeing some more reports of that very heavy rain, the strong winds. Occasionally, some people have even told us that they've seen their power just flashing on and off. So that's something we're going to continue to keep an eye on. This is all ahead of the cold front that doesn't move through until later on this afternoon. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on this. So update for that tornado warning. We just have it in right now. It does include a little bit more. This is the second tornado warning now for Nelson County and the northern portions also of Washington County as well. And we're going to be watching this pretty closely. We were talking about that secondary rotation towards Bardstown, and here we go. This is exactly why we have this going on. So I'm going to pan up a little bit more so we can see a better view of what's happening in terms of this right now. We were talking, I was just talking a second ago about that secondary rotation further to the north towards Bardstown, and this is where we now have this second tornado warning. So we have the one for those of you in the southern portions of Nelson County all the way up towards Springfield, but now this secondary tornado warning goes from Bardstown through the Bloomfield area and up towards Sparrow. So if you live in that area, please get into your safe space now. This is going to be the lowest level of your home, an interior room that does not have windows. So this may just be a closet or a bathroom or maybe even just a closet in your hallway. If you can get something over your head, make sure that you are staying safe. I know a lot of kids are trying to get to the bus stops, those elementary school kids, because they're a little bit later. So hopefully they are safe as well. So we're going to be continuing to keep an eye on everything going on in this particular area right now as we continue to watch this tornado warning. And by the way, this one lasts until 9 a.m. So another half an hour on this one as we're watching some more of that rotation just to the south of the Bardstown area. So this is going to be pushing through Bardstown and up into portions of the Bloomfield area, up towards Sparrow, Tatham Springs, Willisburg, all included in this tornado warning until 9 a.m. This is going to be on top of the other one that we have further to the south that does include Valley Hill, Springfield. For those of you in the Holy Cross area down towards St. Mary, Lebanon, get into your safe spaces right now. We've been keeping an eye on this rotation. It's been quiet in this spot for most of the morning, so you really were allowed to warm up and stay quiet. Now the atmosphere is tapping into that, and that is why we are seeing these strong storms and these tornado warnings popping up up across the area right now. So let's take a little bit of a wider look and see what we have going on across wave country right now. Notice, for those of you in southern Indiana, you are completely in the clear right now. You are not dealing with any of that severe weather. Even the metro is starting to dry out and be a little bit more quiet right now. So that's also some good news there. For those of you further to the west of 65, you have calmed down a little bit more in terms of your severe threat. You've been dealing with it all morning. Now a lot of that severe threat has shifted further to the east of 65. So this is something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on with these multiple tornado warnings in place. So we have, of course, the one for portions of southern Nelson County up towards Lebanon and towards Springfield. This one is until 8:45. And then we have the secondary one further to the north that does include Bardstown and up towards Willisburg. That will last until 9 a.m. So a lot to watch with this morning as we continue to keep an eye, of course, on everything happening in that area. Brian Good, I don't know if you can hear me, but I know you've been streaming since 7 o'clock this morning. I know there's a lot of people in those areas that have been commenting throughout the morning. So are they telling you anything about what's going on for them right now?
A lot of folks, obviously, right now, they're just trying to be careful, not wanting to venture out in this for a good reason. Everyone just stay safe, turn on the TV up loud, start streaming up loud, whatever you need to do. But at the moment, a lot of wind reports. Now, we've got the camera feed out. We're watching Bardstown because we were tracking that rotation heading toward the Bardstown stuff. You can really see how we've got that curling there where the little knot showing up of a backward C look to this, where you certainly have got rotating thunderstorms here. That northern side is showing up in a big way there in the northern areas of Nelson County, around Bardstown into Bloomfield. And again, we've got the camera, we're watching it. Here's a closer view of that in case you're wondering. You see the flag is blowing, but it's nothing too crazy at the moment. Traffic is really eased back. That's good. I'm sure the sirens going off probably has something to do with that. Everyone just take it slow. The other notch is not east of Laredo, Kentucky, and that is the one that has also been holding together fairly well. So it's really two that we're watching, and the tornado warnings that are out are really accounting for these two that are eventually going to impact the rest of Nelson County, and then, of course, into Washington County, and eventually the northern part there of Marion County. And they're moving about 60 to 70 miles per hour, so they're going to move fast. We'll be able to clear off some of these western sides of the counties in a very short term. You want to sit the entire time wondering and waiting what's going on. Just as we've been trying to tell you guys, just stay in your safe spot, lowest level of your home, basement. If you don't have a basement, get into a closet, a bathroom. Anything without windows is key. It's probably going to sound really bad out there at times, some of the wind, and maybe if you hear some of the hail outside. But this is not a setup where you get a tornado that can form and stays on the ground for a long period of time and becomes a big issue. This is more of a weak tornado setup that can happen. They form and they fall apart. Still dangerous, so we got to watch it as it moves through. So as we head toward Laredo, there it's right there into just east of Laredo and heading near Burke Springs. That's where that notch is starting to show up there, and still watching this one, which starting to break free a little bit from the main line, but got the attention, I'm sure, of a lot of folks in Bardstown at the moment. As always, you guys, I appreciate your reports you're sending in. They do help us and trying to get some ground truth here as these storms roll through, especially the hail reports. We've only had one report of wind damage, and that was just in LaRue County, some trees down there in Old Elizabethtown Road. But wind reports and damage reports do tend to be delayed in setups like this, and so it's a little safer to venture out. So just be careful. Don't venture out and look. All right, we'll do that worrying for you guys. But right now, I don't like that lightning still showing up there around Laredo itself and east of St. Francis. That's still a decent signature there. It's not to the point, again, where it indicates a massive circulation all the way to the ground level, but these things are certainly spinning, Tawana, so that's why we got to watch them just in case they were to drop down. And it's still right now a just in case type of scenario. Yeah, and that's something that's just so important. So we've been dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings going on and on and on across portions of southern Indiana and areas further to the west of 65 for most of the morning, and now that severe threat has shifted further to the south and east. So this is something we're going to continue to watch. So for those of you in southern Indiana, if you're watching us right now and you're wondering what's going on, thankfully you are much drier. Things are quieter for you. Still some rain in the metro area, but
Things are a lot quieter for Louisville as well. For those of you further to the west of 65, so we're talking towards Brandenburg, Hardinsburg, even down towards Litchfield, things have calmed down for you in terms of your severe threat, but everything has shifted a little bit more to the east and south where things have been quiet all morning. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on what's going on in these areas right now in terms of what's happening with these tornado warnings. So once again, just going to recap for what's going on for those of you who may be just tuning in. We have 2 tornado warnings out right now because of multiple rotations going on across portions of Nelson County and now moving into parts of Marion and Washington counties as well. So what we have is that first tornado warning, the one that's off towards the south, that does include the very southern portions of Nelson County over towards Springfield and down towards Lebanon. This one lasts until 8:45. So we have about 9 minutes left on that one. And then the northernmost one goes until 9 a.m. It stretches from Bardstown, but that circulation is mainly past Bardstown now up towards Willisburg. So taking a closer look at what we're dealing with in these areas, certainly seeing that heavy rain and a little bit more of that rotation happening just past Laredo. So that is something that's continuing to push now towards the Springfield area. If you're in Springfield right now, I need you to be in your safe space. There's that update with the radar. You can see a lot more of the deep res and a little bit more of that rotation happening towards the Springfield area just to the north of Lebanon. But I need everybody from Lebanon up to Springfield in your safe spaces right now. Also keeping an eye on some more of that rotation happening. It's past Bardstown, but now it's pushing towards Maud and Bloomfield as well. If you're in Willisburg, I need you to be in your safe space. So we're seeing, of course, a little bit more of that rotation further to the south towards the Laredo area. I'm going to try to show you a little bit better about what we're seeing right now in that spot in terms of where that rotation is showing up. So we're watching pretty closely what's happening in that area in terms of that heavy rain, the lightning, even some of that small hail showing up towards portions of western Marion County as well, towards that Laredo area, just to the west of Lebanon as well. So here you can see certainly a little bit more of that circulation pushing past Laredo and up towards Springfield right now. So right in this particular area is where we have that rotation with that storm, and that's where that potential tornado could be pushing towards Springfield right now. So far, we haven't gotten any reports of anything being actually on the ground, but we're on here with you in that precautionary capacity to make sure that for those of you in this region that you are fully safe and you know what's going on. Also keeping an eye on what's happening further to the north into portions of northern Washington County too. This is where we can see a little bit more of that rotation happening. You're seeing that just to the south of Maud as well. So that's something else we'll have to watch in that particular area, with some more of those stronger thunderstorms pushing through this. And this is just the southern portions of this line. This is where we've been quiet throughout the entire morning, and this is where temperatures were easily climbing into the low to mid 60s. So the atmosphere has a lot to feed off of right now, and that is why we're seeing some more of those stronger storms showing up in those particular spots for those of you further to the south. So a lot to watch right now as the morning continues, especially in terms of that potential for not just heavy rain, the tornadoes, but also hail across parts of our region too. So just a recap for those of you who may be just tuning in right now, wondering what's going on. Maybe you live in portions of northern and northeastern Nelson County or into portions of Washington County. Well, this is where we have the multiple tornado warnings going on. So we have the one that is for those of you stretching really from Bloomfield and Maud up towards Willisburg. A lot of that rotation looks to have pushed past Bardstown, which is some good news there. And then we have the secondary one further to the south that does look like it's moving now towards Springfield. So for those of you towards New Haven, things have calmed down for you. That's good news there. But towards Springfield and Lebanon, I still need you in your safe spaces for right now as we continue to watch for more of these thunderstorms, this tornado warning continuing to march off towards the northeast. These are moving pretty quickly at around 55 to 60 miles per hour. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with this for too long, but it's still something that we will continue to watch. And then for areas further to the north, still keeping an eye on this band of thunderstorms. A lot of lightning has been popping up with this from Carrollton down towards Eastwood. Some very heavy rain. We're talking a lot of lightning, the potential for some hail with this as well, and some really strong wind gusts. So while you may not be severe, for those of you maybe traveling on 64, you have friends or family going to be traveling on 64 through this area, this can be incredibly dangerous, and low visibility also can make things quite difficult. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. That lightning lightning really starting to fire up a lot more for areas just outside of Henry County. So we're going to keep an eye on that too for this morning. So a lot to watch still across portions of wave country as we are watching multiple tornado warnings in place right now. So just going to take a wide look of what we are seeing across the area. Southern Indiana, you're in the clear. You are dry. You are just fine right now. For those of you from Meade County down into Grayson County, you are also just quiet right now. So that is some good news for you. But as you head further to the east and towards portions of Nelson County, mainly right now into Washington and Marion County, this is where our focus has shifted a little bit more because of the multiple tornado warnings that are in place. Of course, we have that first one for those of you further to the south. So really watching the Lebanon area up towards Springfield. This is where that rotation is showing up a little bit more right now as this storm continues to march through. Not as much lightning as what we were seeing before, so that's certainly some good news, but it's still something that we'll have to keep an eye on as the morning progresses. And we also have, of course, the secondary tornado warning. This one goes until 9 a.m. So on that first tornado warning, we only have 4 more minutes left on it. We'll watch, see if they expand a little bit further to the north, and then we have to watch what else is going on further to the north of really just Bloomfield and Maud in terms of more of that circulation in there. So let's just show the velocity really quick so you can see where that rotation is showing up a little bit more. So towards Maud and Bloomfield, if you're in that area, I need you to be in your safe space right now. Please get into your safe space right now. That's the lowest level of your home, interior room, no windows. So for some of you, that is going to be a closet. If you don't have a basement, that is going to be a closet or maybe your bathroom. So make sure you're staying as safe as possible. Bring your pets, bring everybody in as much as possible so everyone can stay safe with this. And then we also have to keep an eye on what's happening further to the south as well towards the Springfield area. That's certainly a little bit more of a concern for me right now as we watch for what's happening there. So here's what we have right now. We have an update right now coming in from the National Weather Service, with this being shifted to a severe thunderstorm warning. And this is what's happening for those of you further to the south towards Springfield up towards Mackville, that you are now into that severe thunderstorm warning. They're just adding that on out ahead of that tornado warning, and that is going to last until 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. Maybe if you have friends or family in Gravel Switch or even into Danville, give them a heads up so they know that this storm is moving towards them, because we're still seeing some of that rotation towards the Springfield area right now. So if you're in Springfield, once again, make sure that you are in your safe space. Just turn the volume on that TV up, blast your phone, blast your radio, whatever you need to do to make sure that you are staying safe and you can hear what I'm saying to you right now. So let's take a wider look at what's happening in terms of these tornado warnings. Once again, we have the first one that's on for just 2 more minutes. This has included southern portions of Nelson County. And now really the focus with this is shifting a little bit further to the east. It does include portions of Springfield down towards Lebanon. So that's something else that we'll have to watch pretty closely with that one. And we just got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning in. So let's see if we can go to that right now. Yep, there we go. This is going to be for those of you in Greene County, Taylor County, and northern Adair County. This is going to last for you until a little bit longer. So we're going to be watching until 9:15 a.m. for this brand new severe thunderstorm warning. You can see that flashing there on your screen as we keep an eye on some pretty heavy rain as well embedded in this. Also the potential for some pea-sized hail with this. We've seen quite a few reports of that so far this morning, and that is something that we'll continue to watch. So for those of you in Greensburg, Campbellsville, Holes, Bass, you need to be paying close attention to this storm, because it may not be a tornado warning, but you can still see some damage from those strong straight line winds. I want to make sure that you're fully aware of that and you're paying attention to that for this morning. But then we're going to go back to what we're dealing with in terms of this tornado warning. We are watching the tornado warning mainly for those of you now towards Marion and Springfield. So anyone in that area, that is where a lot of the rotation has shifted, and it continues to push off towards the northeast. So it's pushing past the Springfield area, not getting any reports of any damage so far, but of course our newsroom is looking into it right now, and they're continuing to keep an eye on what's happening in that particular region. And then we have that second tornado warning for those of you further to the north, going to be watching from the Valley Hill area area up towards Willisburg. This is where we could certainly see some more of those strong winds associated with that as we deal with some of that rotation. Not looking as impressive as it did earlier, but that's something that we'll continue to monitor certainly over the next just couple of minutes. So we have for this last tornado warning until 9 a.m. We have that first one that now has been allowed to expire. So for those of you further to the south from Loretto to Lebanon, you are now in the clear in terms of what you're dealing with in terms of that tornado warning. So for those of you in Marion County, you are now out of the tornado warning, but you still have portions of the county from Newmarket to Bradfordsville to up to Lebanon and Gravel Switch included in the severe thunderstorm warnings, the multiple severe thunderstorm warnings that we have for those of you further to the south. So while there may not be a tornado in your area, you can still deal with that heavy rain, which could cause some flooding issues. You can still deal with those damaging wind gusts as well and some of that small hail. So this can still be dangerous for anybody traveling, especially along 68. So please be careful there. And then that tornado warning continues further to the north for areas, especially towards Willisburg, just to the north of Springfield towards Willisburg. This is where we're still watching some of that circulation going on right now. And that lasts for another 15 minutes. So we're going to stay with you this entire time to make sure everyone is safe. Yes, Bardstown, you were included in that tornado warning earlier, but now the circulation and the issues have pushed further to your east. So you are good in terms of that now. So Bardstown, you're a little bit more in the clear. Bloomfield, you're a little bit more of the clear. Still some of that rain coming down for you, but the main focus has shifted a little bit more so for those of you further to the east into Washington County, and that is where we remain concerned about that circulation right now with some of those strong thunderstorms. And Brian Good, I noticed if you have the time that you have been watching those exact same points as well into portions of Washington County where we've been dealing with some more of that rotation, a little bit more of that strong wind and some of that hail. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that and see if we can get Brian in on this in a second. So yeah, so we've been talking to you, Brian, about this, and I've been watching you, of course, drawing on the screen for those who have been watching our streaming platforms as well this morning, just to see what's going on. So what are you seeing? What are the reports you're getting from our viewers in that area?
Well, a lot of just wind reports still coming in, especially out of the Marion County areas that came through. You're right. You're looking at wind fields on the radar right now, and this is blowing out to certainly be more of a straight line wind issue. We had Mesonet Station came in at 41 miles per hour. We had the southern portion of that line, by the way, down to Green and Taylor was coming in closer to about 60 miles per hour. And we got to watch this because you can get little notches in this line too as it moves past Greensburg and maybe into Taylor County. It hasn't happened yet, but most of the thunderstorm cells that have passed that environment have done that. But yes, it's the cell that's in right over Springfield. Weather Service, I've been checking to see if they're going to decide if they're going to reissue a different warning for this area or not. They got a severe thunderstorm warning covering it now. We'll let you know because really the northern portion of this is not as impressive as it was for any rotation for Nelson County. So Bardstown, you guys are good. You're fine. You're east. You're well west now of that line, and it's not as definitive for the rest of that warning box, but it expires in about 10 minutes. So we'll let you know what's decided there. But certainly a lot of straight line wind potential as that bows out. Certainly across right there on the border of across Marion and Washington counties, you're getting some of the stronger wind gusts that could easily get up to 60 miles per hour. And again, for those of you in Green and Taylor, we'll just keep an eye on your reports as we head through the area. We are getting some scattered damage reports trickling in. We got a report earlier of damage at the Ben Johnson, I believe it is, elementary school in Breckenridge County. Earlier, the roof apparently has damage, so there's water in their gym there. That's from the earlier storm in the area. Now we're dealing with what's happening in Marion County, and the winds have really been picking up. Again, wind reports are good. I really appreciate everyone's patience on this, and I don't want you guys to venture out and look. All right, we got storm spotters all over the place right now. Okay, there's the new tornado warning, Tawana. I'm going to send it back so you can cover that, but it makes sense the new warning's out because, again, that's basically where the main circulation is. If we had to pinpoint any one spot, it's right over Springfield and heading eastbound.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to continue to be watching pretty closely as the morning progresses. So we've been watching that first tornado warning for those of you in portions of very southern Spencer County and northeastern Nelson County. But as Brian mentioned, the threat has really shifted a little bit more further to the south. So we're watching the very eastern portions of Washington County, and this is going to last until 9:15 a.m. So we are going to stay with you until 9:15 a.m. until this tornado warning is expired for our area. It's something that we're going to continue to watch. So for those of you from Toddsville up to Harrodsburg, maybe you have some friends or family in that area, even towards Perryville, call them and make sure they know to get in a safe space right now. Maybe they're at work. Make sure they have a heads up of what's happening, because maybe you don't always get those reports as you're at work. So that's something to keep an eye on. And on Saturday, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning for this particular area as well. So we have a lot to watch in this, as we still are seeing some of that rotation not looking as impressive as it did earlier. But now, as Brian mentioned, we've gotten a few reports of some damage, mainly in areas further to the west. But this is something that we're going to continue to watch pretty closely as the morning wears on. So good news, that tornado warning, that was for those of you in portions of Nelson County, has been allowed to expire, so you're completely in the clear there. We're still going to be keeping an eye on what's happening, though, further to the east into portions of Washington County. So for those of you in Springfield, things have calmed down significantly for you, so that's certainly some good news. But we, of course, are still going to be closely watching this circulation in this particular area as we watch for a lot more of that heavy rain, the potential for some more of that, of course, small hail that we've been seeing throughout the morning as well. And we'll have to keep an eye on the tornado threat too. We've been talking about that isolated tornado threat throughout the morning, and here we go. This is something that we're going to continue to watch. So zooming in a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. So towards Texas and Thompsonville, this is passing by and is pushing towards the Mackville area right now, and this is where we are dealing with a little bit more of that heavy rain. That rotation is showing up right there towards Mackville, so it's starting to move out of Washington County. That's some good news, and these storms have been moving pretty quickly, by the way, around 50 to 60 miles per hour. So they're racing basically at highway speed. So that's something that we'll continue to keep an eye on for this morning as this continues to push off towards the north and east pretty quickly. Let's look at that rotation a little bit more and see what we have going on here into Washington County. So you can see right towards Thompsonville and Mackville. That's where you have the reds and greens, the inbound and outbound flow of air showing up on the radar right next to each other. And that indicates to us that there is that rotation, the potential for a tornado towards Thompsonville and Mackville. And this is why this tornado warning is in place for another about 20 minutes. So this is something we'll watch pretty closely. For those of you in the Thompsonville, Mackville area, maybe you live around 152 in Washington County, just to the northeast of Springfield. If you're in these areas towards Battle, towards Cardwell, even towards Stewart, I need you in your safe space right now. Once again, this is going to be the lowest level of your home. If you live on the second floor like I do, hopefully you've made friends with your neighbors and you can knock on their door and get into maybe their closet, their bathroom, so you can all stay safe together. Or you're just going to have to shelter inside a really an indoor room in your home, so away from those windows, away from those outer walls where that wind can have as much of an impact. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on what's happening for those of you in the Thompsonville and Mackville area. That is where that rotation is continuing to push off towards the north and east pretty quickly right now as this thunderstorm is moving in that direction pretty quickly. So just a recap for those of you who may be just tuning in, Washington County, mainly the eastern portions of Washington County. So for those of you towards Springfield, you are in the clear right now. This rotation is out of your area, but you still have that areas of Washington County towards east of Willisburg, towards the Mackville area. You were included in this tornado warning until 9:15 a.m. We'll watch to see if they cut that off and take our counties out, but this is something we're going to watch until that particular point. Now, for those of you maybe just outside of this region, especially further to the south, in portions of Marion County, south of Lebanon, all the way back towards Campbellsville and towards Greensburg, you are still underneath a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as we continue to keep an eye on some more of these strong thunderstorms with heavy rain, some strong wind gusts possible over 40 to 50 miles per hour, and some small hail moving through the Greensburg and towards the Campbellsville area. So for those of you living in portions of Greene County, Taylor County, a heads up, this is something that you're going to have to contend with for a little while longer with these strong storms pushing through your area right now. And just a heads up for those of you further to the north, you may not be underneath any severe thunderstorm warnings, but still seeing pretty decent thunderstorms from portions of central Shelby County pushing towards Franklin County. So maybe if you live in Franklin County towards Frankfort, you work in Frankfort, heads up, this is this line of some very strong wind and even some small hail is moving towards you. This does stretch into very eastern Carroll County. So this is something that we'll continue to watch throughout the morning. By the way, for those of you in southern Indiana, you're just fine. We are only dealing with rain in the metro, and that is it. So our focus is for those of you further to the south, where we're still dealing with a lot of those strong thunderstorms continuing to push through. Once again, we have that severe thunderstorm warning for those of you further to the south from Greene County up towards Taylor County, and it does include the very northern fringes of Adair County as well. So that's something that we're going to continue to watch closely for those of you in that area, mainly for that hail threat, that damaging wind threat, and the heavy rain too. But of course, the focus still for right now and for the next 20 minutes will be what's happening as we watch this storm now, thankfully, moving out of Washington County. Still seeing a lot of that heavy rain towards Perryville and Gravel Switch. So maybe if you have some friends, family in that particular area, give them a heads up. Maybe they're not fully aware of what's going on right now. So I want to make sure that you let them know what is happening in their area in terms of this tornado warning. That does last until 9:15 a.m. A lot of strong winds with these storms that we've been seeing this morning, and that is something that we'll have to continue to monitor throughout the morning hours. Now, keep in mind, we do have that alert day for us until 1 p.m. as we continue to watch for some more of those showers and thunderstorms pushing through portions of wave country. Let's see if I can get this to work so I can show you the rotation. There we go. So now that looks to be pushing away from portions of Washington County. That's some good news there. It's now mainly towards the north of Perryville. So for those of you further to the east, you are dealing with more of that strong wind continuing to move through your area with that heavy rain as well. But that rotation, which looks a lot less impressive than what we were seeing just about 20 minutes ago, continues to really start to fade. So that is some good news for those of you there. So we're starting to see our Washington County residents now slowly getting out of that threat, but that tornado warning is still holding on for right now. So let's just dive down a little bit further to the south and see what we have going on in terms of that severe thunderstorm warning. We still have that going on for those of you in Greene and Taylor counties, and then we have that severe thunderstorm warning as well still for the northern portions of Marion County up into Washington County. And of course, the focus still continues to be the tornado warning into eastern parts of Washington County. But now we're seeing, of course, that rotation now moving out of Washington County, which is good news. Just to recap, for those of you in southern Indiana, you're in the clear. You're just fine. There's not even any rain for you in southern Indiana, so that's some good news. Still a little bit of that rain further to the southwest of Louisville, but it's just really light stuff. The metro seeing more of that light to moderate rain right now, so even Louisville has calmed down a bit. But this is only the first batch of storms that we have in the forecast for today. We can see several more rounds as we get into the late morning and then the afternoon, especially for those of you further to the south of Louisville. So this is something that we're going to continue to monitor. So this tornado warning still for portions of Washington County until 9:15 a.m. as we continue to watch this storm just ravaging and pushing really quickly to the east. So there may be a potential for them to potentially push this out and cancel this a little bit early for our Washington County area. That's something that we'll be watching pretty closely. The National Weather Service say they are watching it, and this is potentially rain wrap. So this is something that we'll have to keep an eye on for next about 17 minutes. We're going to stay with you for those of you in our coverage area until this tornado warning is able to be expired for us. So this is something that we'll have to watch. So let's just take a closer look at that rotation once again, because as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't looking as impressive, which is certainly some good news. And it has been pushing out of our region, still seeing some of that showing up just to the north of Perryville. So that is mainly out of Washington County now. So for those of you towards Springfield, good news for you. You are in the clear in terms of that, but still seeing some very strong winds. And we're going to be keeping an eye a little bit more on some of that heavy rain and some hail possible a bit for those of you further to the west. And as we head up towards Harrisburg, maybe you have some friends or family there, up towards Danville, just give them a heads up that this is where we are seeing more of that rotation. This is where that tornado, apparent radar indicated tornado, is moving through. We haven't gotten really any reports of damage so far, so that is certainly some good news, but it's still something that we'll have to continue to monitor. And of course, for those of you further to the south, you may not be in that tornado tornado warning, but I'm still watching you very closely. Areas south of Lebanon down towards Greensburg, you are still dealing with some more of those very strong thunderstorms pushing through your area, and that is why you remain underneath that severe thunderstorm warning for a little while longer. This is going to last until 9:15 a.m. So you have about 15 more minutes on top of this really severe thunderstorm warning that we continue to deal with. So just giving you a heads up in that area, this could be extended a little bit longer, especially for those of you further to the east into Taylor County. Greensburg, you're getting hit with a little bit more of that heavy rain, a lot of that lightning and gusty winds right now. So we'll watch that for you, but thankfully it's pushing to the east pretty quickly. Campbellsville seeing much of the same as well. And just a heads up for those of you in Kane Valley, northern Adair County, you're also underneath that severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15 a.m. So 15 more minutes on this as we continue to monitor what's happening. So of course, we are required to stay with you throughout the entire time that there is a tornado warning on air. And that's exactly what we're going to do to make sure everyone can stay as safe as possible. And there we go. Now we have portions of Washington County. You are now out of the tornado warning. So that is some good news there. Our coverage area is now completely out of that tornado warning. The update just in. But for those of you who maybe have friends, family into Perrysville and the Harrisburg area, give them a heads up that this is moving towards them, and we'll continue to watch it, of course, in that area too. So a lot happening across the area this morning. And I just want to give you one more look at what we're dealing with across the area right now. So the tornado warning for our counties have now been allowed to expire, but we still have several severe thunderstorm warnings out for those of you in Greene, Taylor, and Marion counties, as well as Washington County, and this is going to last until 9:15 a.m. So we do have a little bit longer on those. For those of you in the metro, you are dry. For those of you in southern Indiana, you are A-OK. Of course, Brian Gitt and I are with you throughout the morning to keep you updated on what's happening. So we're going to go back to normal programming now that that tornado warning's out of our region. But of course, if anything else happens throughout the morning, we will jump right back on and keep you updated. Remember, you can always find the latest information, the Wave weather app, the latest traffic information as well. So we'll update that there first as the morning continues. And of course, Brian Gitt will be back with you on midday with the latest.